Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we have the Confident of Victory Super Trunks. This is a unit that recently was a sub-EZA that was added into the Blade of Hope Future Int Trunks' EZA area. And he's a pretty cool looking unit, definitely looks pretty decent. He is an all types key plus 3 HP attack and defense of 60%. He raises attack and defense for 1 turn and causes supreme damage to the enemy while lowering their defense. He has attack and defense of 100% plus an additional key of 2 up to key of 4 and attack and defense of 50% up to 100% at the start of each turn. So that's a total passive of attack and defense of 200%. He disables enemy's guard, has an additional defense of 100% for 10 turns from the start of battle, and has a high chance of stunning the attacked enemy when there's an ally whose name includes Vegeta included on the team. So to maximize this guy's passive, you're going to have to play him on a Vegeta's team, but only for the stun portion. The 200% starting defense plus the additional 100% over turns 2 to 4 is really solid, and he'll be able to pretty much have solid defense or really high defense for rotations or for turn 4 to 10, which is really good. In terms of links, he has Golden Warrior, Messenger from the Future, Super Saiyan, Royal Lineage, Soul vs Soul, Prepared for Battle, and Fierce Battle. Everything there except for Soul vs Soul is a pretty solid link, quite common and really good, especially amongst Trunks units. So Trunks looks like he could have some decent linking partners. In terms of the category, he has Hybrid Saiyans, Future Saga, Full Power, Time Travelers, Vegeta's Family, Super Saiyans, Android Cell Saga, Bond of Master and Disciple, Rapid Growth, Saviors, Connected Hope, Heavenly Events, Mastered Evolution, and yeah, just a lot of categories, which is really cool. It means that he's really usable. He's also usable alongside the Transforming Trunks, which is a really good point. The Transforming Trunks is an incredibly powerful and solid unit. A little bit aged now, but still relatively good, and it's nice that he's got some additional partners to transform alongside. So that is really awesome for Trunks. He's on a ton of categories as well, shared with this Trunks, so yeah, really good. In terms of build, I see a lot of people saying you should go additional because he disables guard. Disabling guard means that units that would do type disadvantage attacks will be doing type neutral damage against that unit. So you should only really go additional if, for example, you're going to plan on fighting a AGL enemy and you have a full strength team, or you're fighting an int team or an int enemy and you have a lot of physical units. So that should be the only situations where you ideally build additional. Even then, it only really helps Trunks if he himself is fighting an AGL type unit and only after his first attack. So if, for example, well, here we can see Trunks has got 148,000 defense, which is a very good starting point. No support on the rotation, so it's a very good starting point. And we'll be able to see how he pairs up next turn. 1.867 million-ish, around that mark in terms of attack stat, which is pretty decent. He raises it up to 1.8 with the second attack, which is pretty good. But back to his ability, so obviously disabling guard, you know, it's good if, for example, the majority of your team is going to maximize the damage because it disables guard for other units. So if, for example, Trunks is about to attack a unit, that unit is in type, and the unit after Trunks is going to do like a 20 million attack stat but has no way to crit or attacks effective against all types, disabling the guard and having that tech unit hit him for the full damage will be very maximizing in terms of damage. Otherwise, it only really maximizes Trunks' damage if he fires a second super attack and if he is facing an AGL type. So it's a very oddly specific scenario in which he will essentially maximize that disabling of enemy's guard. In terms of raising attack and defense for 1 turn, raising it a second time would be cool. So here we can see Trunks is in a situation with over 160,000 defense, so when he raises his defense he's going to be very close to the 200k mark, around about there, which is solid. It's very good. Obviously, if he can raise that again, we're talking about a very high defensive stat, but I don't actually think it's necessary. I think the single raise is enough. Yes, Trunks will not be able to, tank supers and super late content, but at the same time, even if he gets that second raise, it's not going to make too much of a difference to that kind of situation. So from that perspective, I would definitely say going crit is going to be the best with him, because his attack stat does ramp up quite quickly. We've seen it jump up already, and it will jump up a little bit more with the support. But yeah, definitely think that crit is the way to go with Trunks. It is just the best way to maximize him. It is the best way to make him function properly and to get good results with him. And I just think overall it's not really entirely necessary to try and focus on the guard break ability, because the correct utilization of guard breaking abilities requires a lot of foresight and a lot of pre-planning, whereas most times it's just a nice little added bonus. You can see here he's got 180,000 or so defense, so we'll definitely crack the 200k mark once he fires off his super attack, which is pretty good. It's obviously great to exceed that threshold, but he's pretty solid for in-game content. I would say he's definitely a very solid option. Obviously there is a slight deadline on him because of the 10 turns mechanic, so I would ideally say that he's probably best suited for short form content, ESBR, SBR. He manages to get his defense up to a decent field. But definitely in long form content, if you're going to take over 10 turns, not that he's going to become bad. He won't become immediately bad, but his defense will drop from around about the 180k mark to the 130k mark with running a support, which is a noticeable difference. It's not the end of the world, but it is something that is quite noticeable. So it's just going to depend on how you function, or how you build your team and what kind of event you are running him in, whether he has type advantage and things like that. But for the most part, yeah, Trunks looks pretty solid. He doesn't look bad in any way, shape or form, and he definitely looks like he can do some decent damage as well, which I think is really good. As a sub easier, I think he's looking really solid. I think he's bringing a lot to the table. And if you are looking for some more Trunkses like me, especially Super Trunkses, I think he's a nice little neat filler for certain gaps in teams. The nice thing about him is he's on a lot of teams, which means you can use him as a filler in a lot of different team builds, in a lot of different team varieties for certain content. So he's definitely got that category viability, which I think is really great. But yeah, overall, Trunks is really, really good. We'll take a look at him here on the Hybrid Saiyans team, which will be a little bit of a different build for him, something that is a little bit different. In terms of construct, obviously you can share him with plenty of Trunkses, which is the really good thing. Gives him a lot of viability. Of course, the rest of the team build can be quite diverse, so as long as you have some form of Super Saiyan Trunks, you're basically guaranteed to have 4 links with this guy, which is pretty good overall, and kind of gives him a lot of good variability in terms of who he can link with, how he can link with them, and just general overall viability as a unit, which is really good considering the strength of the categories that he's on. In terms of his positioning, I definitely think he's best as a kind of first slot unit for some content and a second slot unit for other content. He's good for 10 turns, so you can realistically use him anywhere. There's no limit to what he can or can't do, but I don't find him to be particularly exceptional in any given area. He's got good defense, very good defense. He's got good offense after a while, well, only 1 or 2 turns. So it's not like he's poor in any way, shape or form, but he's kind of a jack of all trades units. His defense is just very good, and his offense is just very good. Not that just very good is bad in any way, shape or form, but it's just that there's no specific reason to put him first, second or third slot. He's kind of a unit that you just kind of want to fill in where you can. Ideally, his best position is obviously his second slot, because that means he'll have his max defense for the most attacks that he'll face, but it's not really something that's a major concern for him. He can easily achieve a lot of damage or a lot of output in the first or second slot. There's no real need to kind of focus in anywhere specifically. So for Trunks, in that aspect, there's plenty to focus on, but at the same time, he's not really a unit that you're gonna, well, I definitely have to put him first slot, I definitely have to put him second slot, I definitely have to put him third slot. You can kind of just put him wherever you need. He can fill in a gap. As long as he links well or links up with Trunks, he'll be perfectly fine. He shares a lot of links with most Trunks units, which is fantastic. He can get some decent defense. We saw him pushing close to the 200k mark, and he gets there quite quickly. I mean, fourth turn for his max defense isn't, third, fourth turn for max defense isn't really that big an issue. It's basically from his second appearance onwards, so it's really not like any form of consequential issue. So from my aspect, I really just think Trunks is more than fine and perfectly serviceable in a lot of areas. We'll see here he's got 3 links active, so he's got a good amount of defense again already at a pretty high point. After supering, he's going to be pretty much around that 200k mark, which is obviously very, very good. And yeah, just a super solid unit in terms of output and production. Nothing crazy, obviously not LR or DFE levels or anything like that, but just still a very, very solid unit. Very impressive, does a lot of good work. 2.6 million here, which is a good attack stat for a sub easy air. You can build him full crit, so he's got a lot of utility in terms of increasing that damage. He can go full crit build. He's a strength based unit who starts with 5 crit already, so he can maximize that damage quite a bit, and overall he can just do a lot of good work. So for me, very, very solid performer, very good unit, enjoyable to use, does a lot of good work, which is always great. And yeah, just overall, I think he's a good addition. I think we don't have good Super Trunks units, and I think getting these two, the physical one and the strength one, are good moves for Dokkan overall. Super Trunks was a very cool moment in the show, especially for me. I really thought it was awesome. So I think like having some representation for him is good, but it kind of will give us an idea of what the Super Trunks unit might be like if they ever bring out a DFE one, or an updated one, or a sub one. He'll probably have something like rapidly bringing up to power, but it's temporary, it lasts for a while. It's kind of the idea behind the Trunks unit. So for the most part, definitely something that we can achieve, and pretty cool. Here you can see he's got quite a few links activated. Obviously shares quite a few with this Super Saiyan Trunks. They're a very, very solid combo together, and he does have the support active here, so we should see a pretty similar stat, almost identical to the one we saw before. 2.7 million, very, very good. And yeah, that's it from Trunks. So we'll take a look now at his links and his linking partners, and who he links well with. But overall, I think we've got a pretty good idea of where Trunks sits in terms of his easy air, and I think he's really good. Pretty solid and a nice variable unit. So yeah, that's Trunks, pretty much everything in a nutshell. Really good unit, really solid. I think in terms of links, he links pretty well with any Trunks unit, with any Super Saiyan unit. He's got Golden Warrior, Super Saiyan, Prepared for Battle is a super common key link. Royal Lineage obviously caters him a little bit to the Vegeta's family side, but for the most part, Trunks just has a very decent, very good link set. Soul vs. Soul is a little bit uncommon, but its effect is very negligible. It just reduces the regeneration effect of opposition. Although now maybe it'll be something you actually utilize in Ultimate Clash. If you look at Trunks, you could bring him along, maybe activate Soul vs. Soul, and reduce the regeneration effect of some of those annoying units. Overall though, Trunks is a pretty just solid unit. You can see by his pretty wide link set, They can link with any Super Saiyan relatively well, from AGL LR Gohan to obviously any Trunks unit to Super Vegeta units. Remember, you do want to have Vegeta on the team to try and activate his full passive, the stunning portion, which is quite useful in ESBR and SBR. But yeah, that's really kind of it for Trunks. There's not too much more to say. I think he did really well. 2.7 million attack stats, 200k or so defense after supering. Definitely much better than he was before. And a unit that, yeah, considering I'm still one dupe off Rainbow, you could probably definitely push with link leveling above 3 million, above 200k quite comfortably. And I think that's a really good standpoint for this sub EZA to be. I think that's a very solid place. It makes them highly usable units, but it also just makes them very reliable units that aren't, I want to say, overshadowing any other unit. They are just very solid team pieces that can kind of complete your team, give you some variability, give you some options. They're great for Ultimate Clash, they're great for a lot of events, and I think that overall makes them really good. They're on tons of categories, so they can be filler space units in a lot of your teams. And so I don't think there's anything really more to kind of focus in on with Trunks. I think Trunks is just really good. You can focus on the royal lineage side of things, but it's not really that prevalent to link. But there's so many good units that have royal lineage that's not really a loss to say that Trunks has it. And yeah, obviously the best linking partner, at least for me, would be this transforming Trunks. Considering it takes a turn for the physical Trunks to get up to, the strength Trunks to get up to speed, it's not really that bad an issue that this Trunks only transforms on the second turn. So there's about one turn really where you're going to see them not be super powerful together, but they actually synergize quite well. Trunks stacking really helps out, and overall they have a really great matching link set, so that's really awesome. But yeah, that's it from me. So let me know what you guys think. Have you used this Trunks? Have you not? Do you like him? And I'll see you guys in the next video. But until then, take care, stay safe, and bye.